Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. So this will be the last one of the year. I want to reminisce on 2022, everything I've learned, everything I've gone through, and just share some key insights, some key mindset quotes, just anything helpful that I think I've learned that's going to help you guys going into the new year and for me to develop even further. So yeah, it's not really going to have a structure. We're just going to waffle away, and hopefully there's some key things that you find interested and that can help you. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is this year I actually started this podcast or this page. And the reason I did that is because I've been through a few years of healing myself and I had all this knowledge that I feel like had saved my life, changed my mindset as a person on certain topics, all these different things. And I was just like, someone needs to write a book of all of this stuff. And I was like, well, why don't I make an Instagram page? I've already got one for media tips and all my clients have Instagram pages. Let's make one and share all these healing ideas, even if people find it cringe or aren't into healing, or even if it's almost a bit girly. I'm just going to share it and do it. Then I started doing podcasts because I had so much content to talk about that it just wasn't going to fit into one post a week. So this is why I've started it, and the love I've had is amazing. Genuinely didn't think anyone would find these videos or anything, but literally every time I go out, one of my friends, mutual people I haven't spoken to in ages, always comes up and talks about it, and it literally makes me so happy because I didn't really think anyone would find this content interesting unless they were kind of into the stuff themselves. So literally my main message and the reason I started this was to get some of the cringy inspirational stuff but across to the people that might not necessarily normally listen to that stuff, and find a way that it will apply to their life. So if I've done that for at least one person, then I'm happy. So I started that this year. That's one thing to be really grateful for. And something with this podcast is I want to rebrand. I've got a new microphone, I've got some new equipment. I want to set up a little mini studio and just rebrand a little bit, make it a little bit more casual, a bit more relatable, and very honest. So I'm still planning and preparing, but hopefully in the new year, this whole podcast will be rebranded into something a bit more entertaining and interactive. So that's just one thing I'm grateful for and wanted to put out there before we get into the depths of this podcast episode. So the thing with gratitude is obviously the things that you have now, that you love, you enjoy, you're going to be grateful for. But I'm talking more on kind of a more difficult level of being grateful for things that you've actually lost, that maybe didn't stick. So being grateful for each specific outcome you've been put into. So for example, say you had a job that you hated to begin with. Obviously, you're not going to like that, you're going to want to leave, but you need to be grateful for that because you have to go through a bad experience to then shape what you would have done better for next time. So be grateful for that. Then say you got a second job and that job was amazing, it was your favourite thing ever, you loved it so much, and then you lost it, or you got made redundant, or you got fired, and you'll have that feeling of loss, and you'll be that's so unfair. But don't be. One, just be grateful for the feeling that you did get to experience that once. The fact you might not have ever got to experience that happiness in that job, or that happiness with this experience, this person, or whatever it may have been. Just be grateful that you even got to have that thing when you did. Even though it's been taken away from you, some people would have never had it. You may have never had it. You would have never known. So the fact that you got to experience it once, treasure that. The fact that it then got taken away from you is obviously sad and it's a loss, but in a few months you'll realise it's a redirection onto something better. Every outcome, every person, every experience you go through is basically pushing you to become the ultimate version of yourself, the best, to set boundaries, to learn what went well, what didn't, to finally get to your most perfect, ideal outcome of a job, an experience, a person, whatever it may be. So be grateful for all the little outcomes you've had that have led you to your ultimate goal. Don't feel like you've lost anything. You had it, be happy that you had it, and then it got redirected onto something better, which will show itself in due time. But that's one thing I've learned this year is there was that little feeling of going to that specific place or having that job or having that friend in my life, and then they go and it's really confusing and blah, 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 blah. Don't be. Just be grateful that you got to experience that friendship, that job, that whatever it is, you for once in your life, you were happy with that, whatever it was. So go back to that moment and just be okay, I'm very grateful that I even got to experience that, but now it is gone, and that's because there is something better coming. But always be grateful, even if it was a negative experience, even if you had a bad job or a bad person, Be grateful for absolutely everything, because it all is lessons and is shaping you to reach higher goals, higher standards, to make you a better person, and for you to like at the end of your life or at your time to receive your blessings, to receive kind of your paradise. Never settle, never get that first job, that first thing and just think this is it, and then when it goes be like devastated and angry at the world that it got taken away from you. No, never do that. You've got to be grateful that you got to experience that once in your life, and then be grateful that it is now taught its lessons, it's done its job, done its purpose, and now it's redirecting you into something better. Everything in your life has a purpose, has a lesson. It's all there for a reason. Nothing is a coincidence. So every person that comes into your life, every opportunity, every event, experience, it is all shaping you either for good or bad lessons. And then eventually it will redirect you until you reach a person, a goal, or whatever that is meant for you. And then you'll stick with that. And that will be your thing, your blessing, your reward after going through all those hardships. Whatever is meant to be for you will be for you. It will come back. If that certain job is for you, it will circle back. I'm telling you now. But be grateful that you got to experience each thing, person, whatever it may be, and then be grateful and excited for the future. If you're being redirected, you should be excited. Don't be scared, don't be upset or angry. Be excited that they are now, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is now taking you onto a higher level. Another thing that I've been really into this year is me and my connection with energy has become a lot more strong. So I've always experienced my spiritual beliefs, my religious beliefs, my awakenings and all this. This year's been purely about energy, and energy just is, in all senses of the word, is just so strong. And I even think back to like physics, and I was terrible at school in physics, but like I remember one thing being like, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be borrowed or moved around, but it's never fully created and it's never fully gone. It's always there, it just moves around. And that really stuck with me, just from a science point of view, knowing that that is proven. And then as I got older and this whole spiritual things come into play, it is so true. And if I talk about lessons and people coming into your life for the right time, right thing, it's all energy related. Your energy could be this low, and for me, mine was, and some of my best friends' energy was up here. They came into my life and boosted my energy. It kind of went like this, come to an equal playing field. And I was basically borrowing their energy to bring me up. And then when I was up, I could give them their energy back, or my insights, my type of energy. And the energy was just kind of bounced back and forth until we were both at a place where we were peace and happy. But it's always borrowed. So if one of your friends is down, you kind of, without knowing, subconsciously give them your energy and they'll return the favour. And it's the same with relationships, and that's why some relationships don't work out, because some people can put too much energy into one person and the person isn't accepting the energy, so the energy kind of disperses into thin air. No one's receiving it, but you're giving it too much. And it's the same with friends. Like, you can give so much of your time and effort and energy into someone who's really down, but if they're not ready to receive that energy, you hold on to that yourself. You need that energy. So energy is a big thing for me in that sense. But also with grief, just like I watched, this is so silly, but like I watched Avatar, the new one, and then I rewatched the old one as well, and they all talk about, they're very spiritual creatures, but they talk about, obviously, when someone dies, like, it's okay because their energy cannot be destroyed, it's just borrowed, and they basically feel like they give their energy back to their god, their spiritual element, which is the tree. So I know that's a film, but I just love watching films, reading books, and just taking all this content in the world and applying it to my life, because quite a lot of it has truth in it. And that was a really good one for me with grief, as some people can really struggle with that, losing people, either, they've passed away, or you've just lost them in your life, or they've changed, they're a very different person, and people grieve in different ways. But I feel like that's one thing that would really help me, is to just realise that energy is borrowed, and sometimes it's time to give it back, or to give it to someone else. And that's hard, it's very hard, but it's true. Whatever's meant for you, you will attract the right energy for you. And sometimes you just need to borrow someone's energy. Sometimes you get new energy into your life that teaches you loads. And then it just gets to a point sometimes where you just have to give that energy back, either in like a physical sense, or just like a they've just gone away out of your life, or they've passed on in quite a spiritual sense. But I felt like that is one thing this year that's really helped me, is like energy. Energy is so powerful. And another thing with energy, like evil eye, that's something I've been really thinking about recently, is I can tell when someone's giving me evil eye, when someone's trying to be nosy, trying to send you bad energy, or jealous energy. And it's very dangerous thing. So protecting yourself from that type of energy is so strong. Making sure you are at peace and there's no cracks in your energy either. You are completely protected aura wise. Like, I feel like when I look at people, I can see their auras, and I can see who is genuinely glowing and who is attracting and needing energy and want to kind of like suck the energy of someone else, or that you can see who needs more work and who is just at peace. And that's not a judgmental thing, because I've been in both boats, and I fluctuate each day, but I'm very, very protective of my energy and who I let in and out of my life. And energy is just become a part of my life in everything I do now. The energy I put into certain jobs, people, the energy I receive off other people, borrowing it, giving it back, taking it, it just, in all senses of the word, is so strong and important to me. And I definitely want to talk about it more in depth, because it's a very confusing thing, but it has been one of the biggest things that I've been thinking about this year, is how important it is. And I can almost see it. I can see it radiating off certain people. I can feel energy throughout my dreams and visions. And when you're quite spiritual, it just becomes more and more aware. And like the energy you radiate, when I travel, I can feel that my energy and vibrations are way higher. And I feel kind of at peace. I feel very grateful that I get to see these amazing sights. I feel very close to nature, God, everything. So I want to do that more this year. That's something I'm looking forward to, is traveling, because I know that it boosts my energy, my aura. So energy is something that I think everyone should look into, because it's not just like a spiritual thing, religious thing, it's a science thing too. Like, you can tell, and a lot of people believe in evil eye, a lot of people believe in like grief, and have spiritual practices of giving back energy and reincarnation, and and karma is an energy. Like, there is, in every belief there is energy rooted in it. It just depends how you believe in it. But for me, I'm just very religious and spiritual, and I'm just seeing energy in my everyday day-to-day life, and it's helping me to share my energy, protect it. It's helping me to accept when sometimes energy needs to leave and get out of your life. Okay, so if I look back on this year, the one thing that I regret and wish I had not done, or learn a bit more on how to control it, is self-sabotaging. This is so prominent with me and like all my friends, and in every sense of the word. It can be in jobs, in hobbies, relationships, friendships. People self-sabotage so much, thinking they're not good enough, or something's wrong, or that person is doing something they shouldn't be, and just constantly overthinking and coming up with all the reasons as to why you should or shouldn't do something. And I just wish I'd lived in the present a bit more, and just appreciated what I had when I had it. And as I was saying, you should always be grateful that you got to even experience an opportunity or a person or whatever it is. And if you spend that time in that job or that experience constantly critiquing yourself or someone else and thinking, this isn't right, this, like, I need to do this better, or they need to do this better, or there's something not quite right, and you're just constantly anxious about it, you'll never truly like experience it while you have it. And then it will get taken away, like you'll get fired or something, and you'll be like, that was the best job ever, why didn't I experience it a bit more, and live in the present a bit more. So that's the one thing I wish I'd done, is not doubt myself so much, or doubt the people around me and their actions, and their intentions. I just needed to trust God a little bit more, and just know that everyone is in my life and everything was in my life at the exact right moment for me. And if it was going to go wrong, or something was going to go bad, then that is supposed to happen to teach me something, to help me become the better version of myself. And there is no point sitting there and trying to change God's plan and try and prevent yourself from certain things happening, because that one bad thing might need to happen for you to reach your true potential, and you are pushing it away because you don't want it to happen, but it's actually holding you back. So let everything happen. good and bad, and that is terrifying, and I hate when things are out of my control, so I get how terrifying it is. But one piece of advice from me is definitely just let things happen and live in the present. Be grateful and just happy that you are here right now today with what you have around you, and tomorrow you might not have that. So make sure you are grateful for it and you're happy, and then when it does go or come or whatever, you're just grateful that you even got to have that in the first place. Another thing I want to talk about is I've asked my friends to kind of give me things that I've said to them that have stuck with them, something that really changed their perspective. And one of my friends says the quote that I've told them, which is, people come into your life for the right time and right purpose. A few of my friends have struggled with like relationships. I've kind of struggled with friendships coming in and out of my life and being confused why certain things happen, certain dramas happen, blah, 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 blah. But I have learned through all my healing is that we aren't all born evil. We are all based off so many different factors, and one being upbringing. So forgiveness is so key. People can do you dirty, and obviously there is boundaries and a level of respect, but majority of the time someone's reaction might be different to your reaction based on their upbringing, the person they are, what type of attachment style they have. There are so many different factors, so you can never truly be 100% angry at someone unless it's very fucked up. But if there's just a bit of a disagreement, just understand you are two different souls, two different people. You've been brought up very differently, and maybe you just don't see eye to eye and you're not supposed to be in each other's lives anymore. But the one thing to remember is that people come into your life for a very specific purpose and for the right time. There is no like coincidences here. Everything is made. Like the certain friends I've had in lower school, upper school, whatever it was, came into my life, served their purpose, taught me the lessons I needed, either good or bad. I then lost them at the right time to then make me as an individual progress. So I could be friends with some people and they taught me valuable lessons when I needed it, and then it got to a point where I realised I was outgrowing them and that they were holding me back from progressing further as a person, as a soul, as energy. So then I realised, okay, let's move away from them, and I got redirected onto a different type of friends, or just redirected away from them in general. And then I did progress as a person, but I will never be like that was a waste of time, that they were horrible people. No, because they taught me valuable lessons in one sense of the word. Once that kind of chapter was done and closed and I'd learnt my lesson, they'd served their purpose in my life, or I'd served purpose in their life, I taught them what they needed to know, then it's just time to close that door and move on. Okay, so I've asked my friends for some more mindsets that either I've taught them or they've found out themselves. And the main one is everything happens for a reason. Obviously, I should get that tattooed across my forehead at this point, but it is so true. There is no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. As I said earlier, everyone comes into your life for the right time, the right purpose, redirection. There is a reason that everything is falling into place, or it might seem like it's falling apart, but there is always a reason, and eventually it will make sense to you. You just have to be patient. Being religious has helped me because no matter what happens, I can trust God. It's like an outside point of view, but without God there, it's kind of hard to trust, because what are you trusting? Who are you believing? Who are you talking to? It's kind of hard. So religion has helped me, but if you can do it without religion and you're not religious, everything happens for a reason, as in the universe, or just you, or just your journey in general. Everything is laid out in front of you. As I spoke about before in some of my posts, everything is branches. It's like a big tree. And there's lots of branches, and you have to go down all these branches, and some are really terrible and some are amazing, but you have to climb the whole tree. You can't just jump and cheat a little bit. There's a reason you fall and get back up, and it might seem terrible, you might want to give up, but there is a big ass reason for that. Another one my friend has said is, you're worthy of love, treat yourself as a temple. It's so true, everyone is worthy of love, and this is something I touched on with self-sabotaging, is some people sit there and they think, oh, I don't deserve this friend, I don't deserve this partner, I don't deserve this type of love or treatment. Everyone here is worthy of love. When you feel loved and you're receiving love from friends, family, whatever, take it, be grateful. Be grateful you're experiencing it right now, because even if it's taken away from you, you get to say, well, I felt that love once, I felt that support, I felt that whatever it is, you've got to experience it at least once, and that's what you need to be grateful and happy for. But you are worthy of love. Don't sit there and ever say you're not. You are. Everyone's time comes differently. Everyone's story is different. There might be ups and downs. It might be very streamlined for you. It just is so different, and it depends on what type of person you are and what's in store for you. Another one, it is what it is. Don't stress about the past or the future. It is so true. What is the point of stressing about something you can't change? The past is in the past. You can sit there though, and it just depends how you act. Act accordingly. That is the main thing. Don't stress about the past, but don't be naive to the point where you're like, well, I made a mistake in the past. It's done now. You have to take accountability. You have to admit when things went wrong. But you don't need to dwell on it. Once you have acknowledged it and you acknowledge the fact that you're going to improve and do better next time or go about a situation differently, then that's all the work you need to do. Do not dwell on anything that's happened in the past. It all happened for a reason. Don't stress about the future either. It's out of your control. Your journey, your path, your life has already been mapped out for you. Even if you don't believe it, trust me, it's there. The journey, the universe, God, whoever, they know exactly where your journey is going. We have free will, of course, but whatever's meant to be for us will always lead us back to that end goal, no matter which path we take. And that's the main thing I've learned, is no matter what I do now, going forward, whatever is meant for me at the end of my journey will always end up eventually being attracted to me. Another thing that is so strong and so important is that you find your sense of self and self-love and independence. It all comes under the same umbrella. So making sure that if everyone, God forbid, died tomorrow, could you be content by living by yourself? Are you happy with the person you are? Can you entertain yourself? Are you okay to go to Costa tomorrow and get a cup of coffee by yourself and sit there and feel no shame, judgment? You won't get bored. Can you do all of that? Or do you need to kind of become a friend with yourself, I guess? Get to know yourself as if you are another person, like step out of your body. Because I've always been pretty independent, and when I went to my sixth form, I would spend a lot of time alone. And I think that's where I really built up a sense of self. And I brought up my personality. I mean, I don't think you truly know who you are until you're around 20, 25 for guys. Obviously, it can change, but finding out who you really are is so important. Knowing where you come from, why you are the way you are, how does that affect you in everyday life? How can you love yourself more and be more content and happy? What brings you pure joy? These are all the questions you need to ask yourself. And for me, I spent this year just building up my self-love, my self-confidence, and just being so content with being by myself. And I do that a lot when I go out and traveling, and I just love that spiritual connection with just being by myself and feeling protected by God and just going places and being grateful. But I would struggle at night, like coming home and just sitting in my bed, not really doing anything interesting. But could I be content with myself, or did I always have to go out with friends and loved ones and spend time with them and then just go straight to sleep? It was a distraction, and I wanted to make sure I could come home and have like pamper nights or just chilled nights and not be bored and not be like itching to do something and get out. And this year I have definitely accomplished that, and I'm very grateful that I now prefer sitting in by myself than going out with friends. And that dynamic changed massively this year, and I'm very grateful for that because I can balance both now. Whereas before I'd constantly go out. So doing that is so important. Actually loving yourself as well is just key, because once you like understand, there's a difference, I guess, between ego, like just saying I love myself, I'm so pretty, I'm this, I'm that, is great, but have you done the healing inner work as well? Have you looked at your upbringing, how you've treated other people in the past, your struggles, how do you react to things, do you have a temper, where does that come from, blah blah blah. I have done all the kind of the harsh things that someone else might have pointed out. I've made sure I was the harshest critic on myself and that I worked on every single thing. I saw a quote the other day that was like, I hate people that say that's just how I am, instead of I'm willing to work on it. And it's true. I feel like people that are like, oh yeah, I know I'm like that, but that's just how I am, are kind of like not looking at themselves and not self-aware, that they're holding themselves back. They could become a better version of themselves, and when you are that better version of yourself, you're more likely to attract good things, manifest good things, get good things. So if you're kind of like keeping yourself in this low pit, just like that's just how I am, I don't really have that many problems, I'm cool, you're kind of preventing yourself from going further and looking outside the box. So what I did is and it took hard work, I went for a whole stage where I was like, I'm fine, what do you mean? I've got nothing wrong with me, I'm a great person. Everyone's gone through that, let's admit it. But I then went for a stage where I did go, no, let's look at myself, and I went through every harsh thing, and I'm still learning each day. There's some things that I think, oh yeah, that is not a nice trait of mine, or oh, that reminds me of this, I shouldn't be doing that, etc. So going back and being the harshest critic, almost making yourself uncomfortable, is important to finally find that true sense of self-love, because you have stripped yourself apart. You have found the most disgusting things about yourself, the deepest, darkest secrets you wouldn't want anyone to know about. You have been there, you've worked on it, and now you can fully say, I've worked hard. I know that I have a sense of self and that I love myself, because we've been through a lot together. That's you and your brain, no one else. Do you know what I mean? So that's the work you need to be doing. And to be independent, you don't need to rely on anyone else. You don't need your friends to go out. You don't need your girlfriend, boyfriend to do things. Rely on your parents. You need to get out there. You're an adult. You need to make sure that you are independent and you can go do things by yourself and you can reach the goals you want. Planning your goals is so important. I do it almost every other day. I make a list of okay, what am I doing tomorrow, next week, next year? What do I want to accomplish? Tick all these to-do lists off, even if it's simple little projects like filming this podcast or going for a walk with my dog. Just make sure you are setting yourself goals and you're achieving them every other day and not relying on anyone else and not looking for anyone else's praise or approval as well. I used to do that. I used to look for approval in my friends, and if they weren't asking me about Maisie Media or what I've been up to, I got offended. It's no one's business to do that. You have to love yourself so deeply that you do things, you set goals for yourself, you accomplish them, and you don't need to tell anyone. And just be content with yourself that you did something and you didn't have to rely or share with anyone else, because you're so deeply rooted, not in a weird way, but in love with yourself. So you have such a good understanding of yourself that it really does not matter who comes in and out of your life or what opportunities you're given, because no matter what is going on in your life, you will be happy and content with yourself. If you become homeless tomorrow, how would you feel in yourself? Could you keep yourself happy? And it seems weird, it seems like I'm speaking as an out of body experience, but it's so true. Actually getting to a point where you feel comfortable with who you are, you've done the digging, you've found all the amazing good parts of yourself as well. It's not just all negative. There's some parts of me that I absolutely love and I haven't really shown anyone, and I don't need to boast and shout about it. Well, I do this and I think this way. No, I know the good and I know the bad, and I'm just content with keeping that to myself and having a sense of self, being independent, setting my goals, achieving them, knowing what I'm doing next year. And it doesn't have to involve my friends, my loved ones, no one. It just is me and my life. And if they're there, that is such a good bonus. And I love my close circle and everyone that's there and supporting me, but they are a bonus, not a necessity. You need to treat yourself as you are the necessity, and everyone else is just an amazing blessing, an amazing reward, but they might not be there tomorrow. So get those foundations in place. So there are so many things I could talk about, and as I said, this isn't very structured, but obviously go back and listen to my podcast, look at my post and everything I've talked about, but in general, as a summary, I just want everyone to just be happy with themselves. Don't be so hard on yourself. No, you've done everything you can this year to keep yourself happy and alive. You've made it. Some people are sitting here thinking they would not make it, and I'm telling you now, I'm very, very happy to say I made it to 20 this year. Healing on this journey, ups and downs, some of the lowest lows. Every time my birthday comes, I have a bit of an emotional I made it, wow. Everyone needs to have that. We're all here, you're all listening to me right now as we're going into the new year. Do it again next year, but bigger and better. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Hopefully in the next ones I will have rebranded with better equipment, better backdrops, better editing, everything, better ideas. I'm really hoping to make this a more interactive, fun podcast, but still not losing its main message, which is all about bettering yourself as a person and creating the life that you want to be happy. So hopefully it will all be better and you'll enjoy it more. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next podcast.